Good day, everybody. Thank you for gathering today virtually as we remember the incredible life of Reverend Donald Foster. I've had the joy of being his pastor for the approximately 10 years that I've been here at Dundas Baptist Church. He's been a faithful member, and I've gotten to hear his stories about his time in service to the Lord as a missionary, but even more importantly, of his love for his family and for his friends. So thank you as you gather. I'm sure I'm not alone as I talk briefly about how inspirational his faith was. His dedication to Jesus and the mission of Christ and the love and grace of God knows no end. And I am looking forward to the day when we will be reunited in glory and I can get to know the most healthy Don Foster that I can know. As we begin, we will pray the Lord's Prayer together. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. And with that, I will turn things to Daniel and Don Martens, who in tribute are going to sing How Great Thou Art.
O Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the worlds thy hands have made, I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder that power throughout the universe displayed. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. When through the woods and forests glades I wander, and hear the birds sing sweetly in the trees, when I look down from lofty mountain grandeur, and hear the brook, and feel the gentle breeze, then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. And when I think that God his Son not sparing sent him to die, I scarce can take it in, that on the cross, my burden gladly bearing, he bled and died to take away my sin. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. When Christ shall come with shout of acclamation and take me home, what joy shall fill my heart? Then I shall bow in humble adoration and there proclaim, my God, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art.
Thank you, Pastor Sean, for that lovely welcome and your kind words for Don, and for that musical hymn. Don loved How Great Thou Art. I've heard him sing it joyfully many times, so thank you so much. I know he would have appreciated that. David and Edith now have sent in a video tribute that we will watch next.
Edith and I are happy to have the opportunity and the honor today to say a few words of tribute for Donald Foster.
As all of you know, Don was a genuinely kind person who wanted only the best for everyone. He was cheerful and sociable with everyone and generous to a fault. He demonstrated an active curiosity about the world, and he had a broad range of interests, reading in books and magazines of every kind until the end of his life. He didn't just read. The passages of anything he looked at were covered with underlinings and annotations until the page became heavy with his marks. Don and Shirley were happily married and had a great adventure together, going off to India to be missionaries for 12 years, and they raised 3 children. Don made sure that the children saw India, taking them on as many trips as possible and exposing them to many experiences. For example, meeting Jawaharlal Nehru and seeing the Bay of Bengal. He used the trips to and from Canada to see as much of the world as possible. In this way, the children saw Switzerland, Egypt, Thailand, and Japan, among other places. He loved to travel and was always interested in seeing new places. He shared this interest as much as he could with his family. Once Don and Shirley returned to Canada, they eventually had a lovely home on Patrice Court in Dundas and were kind enough to take in Shirley's mother, Mabel Warner. Our children loved to visit there because they got such special attention from their grandparents. Don was always asking them about themselves and telling them stories of his own childhood and youth. Don was devoted to learning and wanted to achieve excellence. His letters from India give a good description of life as a missionary in India. We still have his Sanskrit grammars, which he marked up carefully and obviously studied assiduously. Indian thought made a deep impact on him. He was genuinely open to Shankara's thinking, and his study of this thought made him more tolerant. He was very disappointed not to receive his PhD degree once he returned to Canada, and probably underestimated how much everyone respected him for his continued devotion to learning. Don's kindness toward others, his cheerfulness, even under the burdens of his last days, and his courage in enduring those burdens remain permanent successes that we will always remember.
Thank you, David and Edith. Your words are so true to Dad's character. Dad always wanted the best for everybody else, and that was evident in his insatiable kindness for everyone he met, even strangers. Next, my sister Sharon has compiled a series of pictures that span across most of Dad's life. They capture many moments in his life. It's the other one. Okay, this set of pictures is one that Gary put together, I put together, so we'll go with that. If we could have slide 2, yeah. Dad was born in Oshawa, and he grew up in Mimico. He was a kind, loving, humble, hardworking, gentle man. He was dedicated to his faith, his community, to education, to music, and of course, to his family. This picture is a picture of the early foster family, my grandparents, Jim and Nellie, and Dad's 3 siblings, Art, Charlie, and Helen. I believe this picture was taken when Don was about 14 years of age. The next picture is a more recent picture of Dad with his 3 siblings, probably in about 1995. Don and Shirley were friends from a very young age and eventually were married at Mimico Baptist Church on June 19th, 1954. The official at the wedding was Don's brother, Art. Dad's strong faith in Jesus inspired him to pursue a Bachelor of Divinity degree, to become ordained into the Baptist ministry, to do missionary work in India for years, and later obtain a Master of Arts degree in Religious Studies at McMaster. John and Shirley went to India in 1958 with their children to serve as missionaries and stayed there for 12 years. This was a huge act of courage, determination, and commitment. There they made many long-term friends. They worked closely with Ken and Shirley Knight, Audrey Morikawa, Kingsley and Donna Gill, Muriel Bent, Dave and Ruby Hayward, John and Jesse Welfley, Jim and Marion Rudd, Mel Otis, Gordon and Rolly Bars, Edith Clutton, Grace and Arthur Matheson, and many more, too many to mention at this time. They had many adventures in India. Here's Don riding an elephant in Paralakimity. While in India, Mom and Dad sent letters to their parents on a weekly basis. Their parents kept those letters, and later Dad used them as a source to produce a memoir of their time in India. We came back to Canada for furlough in 1971, and Mom decided it was best for the family not to return to India with 3 teenagers. Dad was conflicted about this, as he felt he had unfinished work to do in India. But he went along with the decision, and that started a new chapter in their life in Hamilton. This picture shows some of Dad's missionary colleagues and friends, Benny, at a gathering in Dundas. Dad kept close contact with many of his missionary colleagues and Indian friends. A small group of his retired missionary friends in Hamilton got together every month for brunch. This group was known as the Romeos because they were retired, old missionaries eating out. Many years after we settled into Canada, we had the pleasure to see Mom and Dad gracefully and lovingly transform into grandparents. Next slide. The following slides show some typical moments my family had with Dad. They capture the gentle, caring, and playful side of his nature. Dad loved attending family gatherings and especially liked it when grandchildren were present on occasions such as birthdays and Christmas. Dad was kind and tender when playing with his grandkids, and he was entertaining and engaging as well. At one moment, we went out for a treat to Yogurt's, and I believe we all ate a little too much. Slide 22 of there. Lucy and Dad had a playful competition in an effort to convince us who was the fullest. With stickers on their faces, funny facial expressions, and some serious groaning, both were very convincing. We would visit Dad regularly at his retirement home, and he would always have something for the kids to play with, such as a magnifying glass. And Dad let them do silly things to him all the time. He loved it. He loved his grandkids very much, and they loved him. On one visit, we took pizza for lunch, and before the food was served, a spontaneous game of cup flipping broke out between Dad, Lucy, and Ryan. They took turns flicking their plastic cups, making them fly through the air in an attempt to make them land upright on the pizza boxes. If a cup landed upright, the next person would try to knock it off with their flying cup or to land their cup on the box. It turned out that Dad was a very good cup flicker and could keep up with the kids quite easily. But more importantly, he always enjoyed a playful moment with family. Dad loved to play word games such as Upwards and Scrabble. You could not overestimate how much Dad liked to play Upwards. He could play for hours and would enjoy the last game every bit as much as the first. One day he told me he wanted to make things a little more interesting, so he wrote down all the words from each game that we had played. Using this random collection of words, he constructed sentences to come up with quite funny stories that typically made no sense. We ended most of our games after that in this way. He was playful at heart and had a hearty laugh, even at 90 years of age, while struggling with several physical ailments. Dad had a more serious side, of course, and always found ways to contribute to his church and the greater community. For years, he was an active member of McNeil Baptist Church and put together a brief history of McNeil Baptist Church. After Mom and Dad moved from Dundas, they were welcomed with open arms into the Dundas Baptist Church. Dad was a long-term member of the Dundas Probus Club and eventually became its president. As a member, he wrote and produced a brief history of the Dundas Probus Club. Dad was also an excellent singer. He sang with the Stony Creek Barbershop Choir for many years and at one point had a performance at Hamilton Place. There's Dad up in the left corner. When he wasn't singing with the barbershop choir, he sang with the church choir or with the Remember Me Barbershop Quartet. This quartet was composed of an ensemble of Don and 3 friends from the barbershop choir. In an acknowledgement of his barbershop singing knowledge and abilities, Don became a certified barber pole cat. Throughout his life, Don also enjoyed playing the piano. And in this slide, if you click on it, you can hear him playing. Yay. He loved playing that song, and he was 88 at that time. Husband, son, brother, father, uncle, grandpa, great-grandpa, and friend, you meant so much to all of us. We will miss you. Next, Sharon has compiled a set of slides that show many of the moments in Dad's life.
We hope you have enjoyed those pictures. We are grateful now to share with you 5 written tributes to Dad from family, friends, and colleagues. The first tribute is from Helen Black, Dad's sister. As my closest brother in age, even though 7 years apart, he was around our home longer than my 2 older brothers. Don was always an interested and companionable brother for me. In my childhood years, he loved to tease me, as I guess I was an easy target. He also did many fun things and allowed me to help with his local paper route by folding papers and helping count the money when I was old enough. He and Charlie taught me to sing rounds, which I believe was a help to me through my life and my many choir singing experiences. Don was a handsome and talented teenager and much admired by many, especially the girls, where he excelled at track and field and became quite a runner. Shirley eventually became his heart's desire, though, and I was honored to be a part of their wedding party. It was a sad time for me when he and Shirley made the decision to go to India with their 3 small children, but very brave of them, I thought. At home, we awaited their letters and accounts of their experiences with anticipation. Don always sent beautifully descriptive letters. Since his return to Canada, there have been many chances to resume our relationship, and Don never forgot to remember my birthday. I missed his call this past year. During more recent years, it has become more difficult to get together as a family, and this increased as we all aged. As many of you know, Don was an avid player of the upwards game. When you visited him, you invariably had to play it with him, and he always won. I am sorry that I was not able to visit him more often in the past few years, but we did maintain contact by phone. I miss him, but he will always remain in my fond memories and will not be forgotten. With love from his sister, Helen. Thank you, Helen. Next, I'm reading from granddaughter Diana, and she has sent a short and simple reflection on some appreciated memories of Grandpa Foster. She writes, I always appreciated his love of words. I remember he and Grandma learned new words weekly through Reader's Digest and would use them for a friendly but competitive game of Upwards. That's coming up a lot. I know he read extensively and enjoyed writing as well, including his own book, which is quite the accomplishment. I remember having fun playing in his basement office on our visits after enjoying a delicious meal. Here's where he kept all the goodies like the board games, computer games, and gumball machine filled with colorful treats. Our family's love of board games continues from these early days. I appreciate that Grandpa and Grandma made special effort to take us on some local trips. The trips to African Lion Safari, Wild Water Kingdom, and Marine Land were novel and fun for us. I am grateful for Grandpa's musical influence. It was neat to hear him perform in the barbershop quartet and practice when we were visiting. I recall his and Grandma's 50th wedding anniversary party. What a nice celebration of their relationship and warmth of family and friends in their lives. All of the Christmases and other holidays at Grandpa and Grandma's place were times to remember. We enjoyed the simple pleasure of sitting in your big lazy boy grandpa chair beside the Christmas tree, visiting with family, hearing various family members playing tunes on the piano, and the presents from Santa. In his later years, it was nice to have a little visit and enjoy a meal at Bertram Place or at the Thai restaurant in town. Thanks, Grandpa, for trying to keep in touch via email when I was going through my hectic university days. I wish we had lived closer and been able to introduce you to the great-grandchildren. Sending lots of love from Diana. I'm sure that many of the grandchildren will recount some similar experiences. Gary will now read a tribute from Shirley Knight.
Shirley and Ken Knight were Canadian Baptist Overseas Mission Board colleagues and friends of Dad and Mom. I am grateful today to participate in the celebration of the life of Don Foster. Ours is a friendship which began with music. Don enjoyed singing, especially in quartet harmony. That was how Ken and I first met him in Brandon, Manitoba in 1953. Ken and I had just been married in Brantford and were on our way to British Columbia when Ken was already a pastor. We stopped in Brandon, Manitoba so that I might visit Brandon College. Ken was a graduate and I was to meet some of Ken's friends there. Pardon me. On that exact weekend, the McMaster Divinity School Quartet was visiting Brandon. Don was a member of the quartet. Ken and I were earlier grads of McMaster and had attended classes with Don's brothers. At this first meeting, we and Don had absolutely no thought about India or that God would lead us to meet next in that country. Our friendship was to continue beyond India years when Don and Shirley lived in Dundas, and at one time we attended Barbershop Quartet concert together in Hamilton. Wonderful musical memories. My strongest musical memory is, however, in India, where we all learned to sing unfamiliar hymn tunes in the Oriya language. When we attended leaders' meetings or church association gatherings, I would sometimes just sit back and listen to the men's strong voices, Don and Ken included, singing accompanied by the beat of a drum. We worked collaboratively in the Oriya area in the jungle-clad hills. There were no high schools in those hills, and boys who wished to further their education walked to our neighboring town where there was a high school and a college. We had established a hostel for them. Don and Shirley would take responsibility for the hostel when we went on furlough. With compassion, teaching, and medical care, they invested in the lives of those young men. That legacy remains. When last I visited India in 2012, one of those men, now nearing retirement, traveled miles to see me and to express his appreciation for those hostile years, which helped prepare him for a life as a teacher and overflowed into his family he raised. Don's legacy is significant even today. We sought to work collaboratively with the Association of Oriya Churches. It had suggested areas of need where our help would be appreciated. One need was to visit villages to meet and encourage folk who were requesting baptism and membership in the Christian community. Don responded specifically and took up this challenge. He had good language skills and he began driving the Jeep over an unbelievable road and walking trails in company with leaders to visit the remote villages. It is, however, his very thoughtful and encouraging concern for the individuals he mentored, and the number is countless, that his contribution was and still is so significant. He also worked cooperatively in the Christian Council for the state of Orissa, which involved fellowship and planning across a variety of denominations. Don served as a member, particularly interested in literature, as I recall. Don also had a vision for uncharted areas beyond the northernmost section of what was known as the Canadian Baptist Mission. Eventually, he would build a house there to facilitate outreach into West Ganjam district and to a tribe of people called the Kui. I cannot begin to describe the hard work required to build in that remote area and to live there. Don's vision, enthusiasm, and courage would accomplish it. We have all benefited. Although Don only had the opportunity, along with the family, to live there for a few years, his work laid the groundwork for many of us to continue to travel and work in that area. The house became our camping place and a center for leadership, fellowship, and training gatherings. It was also, in our time, used as a school for the Kui children. That house and property are now held in trust for the work of the Oriya churches. Ken and I would continue for many years to visit India every year on behalf of the Canadian Baptist Mission Board. Always, when we returned, we visited Don and Shirley. Their interest had not waned, and they were eager for any news of the folk they had helped so much and for whom they had still hearts of concern. While I have detailed only a few of the areas of work in India where Don's contribution was significant, before I conclude, I want to express my deep gratitude for the times when our families visited together, 2 Canadian families living in a land far from our original homes. The wonderful hospitality, the sharing of joys and challenges and concerns, refreshed and encouraged us. I am so grateful for this opportunity to say thank you, and as a friend and former colleague, to share my appreciation for Don. Shirley Knight.
Thank you. Now I would like to share memories from Benny, a dear friend of the family for over 60 years. He has addressed it to friends and all the beloved family members of Don Foster. I am deeply honored to be able to share a few memories with Don and the Foster family on this occasion of celebrating Don's life today. I am Benjamin, known to the Foster family as Benny for 6 decades. My journey with the Foster family began when Don and Shirley arrived with David, Sharon, and Gary in Tekeli, India in October 1959. They lived with Gordon and Rolando Barse family for the first 5 months of their stay in India. At that time, my parents, Chinaya and Chandrama, were serving the Canadian Baptist missionaries, the Barses, as cook and helper on the Tekeli mission compound. I was a teenage boy living with my parents on the same compound and therefore had the opportunity to meet the Foster family in Tekeli mission compound. After my school hours and during weekends, I used to play with David, Sharon, and Gary, and even with Don, sometimes on holidays. Don encouraged me to visit him in his office after their supper and taught me typewriting on his portable Remington Rand typewriter. Don used to teach Bible stories in English, which was quite helpful in my regular studies. Both Don and Madam were always kind and generous toward me. Once they gave me 10 rupees as pocket money. With that, I got canvas shoes, my first pair of shoes to wear. The Fosters provided all of my basic needs for 6 years, starting from 10th grade till completion of Bachelor of Commerce. The first Indian summer, the Fosters were in Kotagiri, South India, to attend language school. I was helping with the children, playing, etc. I received very good hospitality and enjoyed homely care. Foster children, David, Sharon, and Gary, accepted me into the Foster family with love, respect, and affection. I felt I was adopted into the Foster family. The second year, Don got a new Willys Jeep for the mission work. Madam and children traveled to Kodaikanal by train and Don and me by road. We drove from Vishakhapatnam to Madurai, 1,400 kilometers, to get the Jeep hard-topped. In fact, Don taught me how to drive and accompanied me when I attended my test for driving license. The young Foster couple were very passionate in supporting college education and supervised a boys' hostel for college students in Parlakamundi. Donald and Shirley endured several episodes of health problems such as malaria and skin rashes. I was with them in all of their good times as well as challenging times. In the later years, the Foster children were sent to Kodaikanal to study in boarding school. After my bachelor's education, I started working with the leprosy mission in Puruli, West Bengal. Fosters prevailed on me to leave the leprosy mission and to join the Christian Medical Center, Pittapuram, because of the felt need at that time. I therefore joined CMC Pittapuram in 1970 as an accountant and continued as hospital administrator for 30 years. In 1990, apart from my work as hospital administrator, I started Bridge of Hope, a nonprofit organization to serve the marginalized rural community in the area of education, health, and skill development training for the youth. Bridge of Hope crossed 30 years of service and continues to bless the rural communities in North Andhra Pradesh through established children's home, hospital, and vocational training center. What I am today is by grace of God and through Foster's sacrificial love to which I am ever indebted. The legacy of Dawn continues in Andhra Pradesh through Bridge of Hope, touching and transforming many lives. Thank you, Dawn and Shirley, for accepting me, sharing life with me, and investing into my life unconditionally. Thank you, David, Sharon, and Gary, for all the love and affection I received from each of you. May the good Lord continue to bless the Foster family, the children and grandchildren. With a grateful heart, Benny and Kamala. The final remembrance is from Audrey Manuel Morikawa, missionary colleague and friend. I first met Dawn and Shirley Foster when I arrived in India in November of 1962. After a long journey by sea and train across India from Bombay, which is now Mumbai, Muriel Bent and I were now close to our final destination. Having met at Palasa, the nearest rail station, we were now in the town of Parlakimidi, situated at the foothills of a low mountainous region in the state of Odisha. We were on our way to Serango, the site of the mission hospital, where Muriel would become the nursing superintendent and I would begin language study in this strange new world. At the far edge of the town, the driver pulled in through an opened gate to the mission residence of the Fosters. I well remember their warm welcome. It was my first experience of thermos jugs of hot water and coffee set on a side table, always at the ready for a weary traveler who might drop in. So I learned one of my first lessons of missionary hospitality, that is, that you fill the thermos with boiling water when the open fire is burning from the previous meal, and you be prepared. No electric kettles or coffee makers in those days. And on this occasion, I am sure there was likely a piece of chocolate cake as well. A warm welcome that grew into a lifelong friendship had begun. In those days, it used to be said that a new missionary should keep his or her eyes open and mouth shut for at least 2 years. In other words, take your time to observe the new cultural situation and missionary participation before you start voicing your opinion. Of course, the first people we observed were our fellow missionaries, and we learned much from each of them. On this occasion, Dawn was just recovering from a bout of illness, and so I will mention Shirley first because I cannot think of one without the other. On that first visit, I not only experienced Shirley's ability to create home in unfamiliar places, but I also became aware of her nursing skills, not only in her immediate care of Dawn, but in their supervision of the boys' hostel. She played a reassuring role for village boys far from their homes and kept a beneficial eye on their nutrition and health needs. Dawn's facility to speak and communicate effectively in the Oriya language was an inspiration to me. He knew the villages where the established churches had been formed into the Oriya Association of Baptist Churches, with which we had been called to work. He held classes with the pastors and helped in the training of lay leaders in surrounding villages. The literacy rate was very low, and Dawn took the lead in establishing literacy classes and encouraged me to do the same as I worked primarily with women. Many of the villages were far from the missionary homes in Parlakimidi and were situated on the opposite side of the mountain in relation to Serango. Dawn had a great desire to establish a residence in that vicinity in order to help in the evangelizing of another group of people known as the Khans, who spoke the Kui language. He and Shirley moved once again and established a residence in that area that has since become the headquarters of the Kui Baptist churches. Years later, fast forward a few decades, here in Ontario, where I first met and came to know my late husband, Tom, it was a pleasant surprise for me to learn that Don and Shirley were his friends long before I met them in India. They were in youth groups together at Mimico Baptist Church. Their parents, the Fosters and the Warners, were among those who welcomed the Morikawa family into their fellowship after their internment on the West Coast. What a blessing it was for both Tom and for me to continue our friendship with Shirley and Don over these many years. Today I grieve with you, and yet as we celebrate your father's life of ministry, I also rejoice that he and your mother are united again. Our loss is heaven's gain. Audrey Morikawa. I want to thank Aunt Helen, Diana, Shirley Knight, Audrey Morikawa, and Benny for sharing your inspiring memories of Don Foster. These stories not only brought back many fond memories, but I also learned new things about my father. Please join us now as we listen to the hymn "In the Garden."
I come to the garden alone, while the dew is still on the roses, and the voice I hear falling on my ear, the Son of God discloses. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own. And the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. He speaks, and the sound of his voice is so sweet, the birds hush their singing, and the melody that he gave to me within my heart is ringing. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own. And the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. I'd stay in the garden with him, though the night around me be falling. But he bids me go through the voice of woe. His voice to me is calling. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own. And the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known.
Thank you very much, Daniel and Don. As we finish our service today, remembering Don Foster, we've heard some incredible stories about his faith in action, traveling across the seas as a missionary. But we've also seen some beautiful pictures of his faith in action as he loves his family and his friends. as he gives his time to his community, and as he shows the love of the Lord to all who would look for it in his life. And so we will finish the service actually, I'm going to pray if that's okay. We're going to have a word of prayer, and then we'll finish the service with Psalm 23. Lord, thank you so much for Don, the incredible man of faith that he was, and the fact that his faith was so evident. Lord, I thank you for this chance that we've had to get to know his family and see a little bit behind the scenes of who Don was. And Lord, what a beautiful picture that has been painted here today, not just of an incredible man, but an incredible man of faith who lived his life fully and completely for you. And we celebrate, as much as we miss him, we celebrate that he is getting his just reward today. And we praise you for that. And Lord, we turn to you with faith and expectation as we close this service with the beautiful words inspired to David in the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. As we finish the service, we're going to play through one of the slideshows of Don's life once again. And Don, the music minister, if you wouldn't mind playing as we go. But as you go, may the Lord bless you, and may the Lord keep you, and may the Lord make his face to shine upon you. God bless you this day.